I'm
All
really
right.
glad though that your team is the one that looks like they're going to get Dame and not mine, because there for a minute it was just us two instead of Marcus, and I was really worried I was going to get stuck with him. But you're going to get him, so congratulations.
Honestly, I think it's going to be good. They're going to sell a bunch of tickets. It's it, it's going to be good.
Anytime a fan of a team is getting ready to get a player, and the first thing they lead with is, "Man, it's going to be great. We're going to sell a lot of tickets." That's when you know that's a problem.
It's a Toronto special. It's a Toronto special. John, Red Bull Racing is the Constructors Championships. Max Verstappen, maybe Michael Jordan. And we're not here to talk about those things. I'm here with Trey. How are you doing, Trey?
I don't even know what you just said.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are going to get those references. It's F1, by the way, the F1 reference. But yeah, we're here to talk about basketball. Detroit fans, get ready. You're going to enjoy this episode a lot.
I mean, I've been pretty high on Detroit the last few episodes, so just more
Yeah,
of the same.
yeah, just more of the same. Exactly. It's going to be a good episode for a lot of teams. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be picking 5 players each from each conference along 5 different categories. The categories being rookies, as we like to do, then the youngins, as we ended up calling them, the 2 to 4 year players on the rookie deal still, a defensive minded player, our top 10 player, and a vet that's on the trading block that in February we're going to keep our eye on because they're going to a contender to help them out for a late season run. Um, Trey, which category do you want to start in first? How are you feeling when you went through the process, first of all?
Well, I just went down the list. I did East first and then West. I don't know. I don't know if you want to do like full East and then full West, or if you want to do like rookie East, rookie West, young in East, young in West. We probably should have discussed this before we went live, but those are the breaks. You don't want to talk about Dame? Is there any more fire to that, or is it still just smoke?
I don't
Or are you
know, but
saving that for the end?
we can save it for the end. I hit
Okay.
up the trade machine. We talk about Siakam maybe going to Portland. I've got some trades in line for him not going to Portland. We keeping Siakam. We have to get rid of OG, but you know, them's the breaks for that. So, but we'll go. Let's go. We'll go Eastern, Western, and we'll go through each category. We'll do it like a starting lineup.
That works for me. Well, I figured we'd start with the rookie to watch, and I mean for my Eastern Conference rookie, it's the second pick in the draft. It's Brandon Miller, and for me, it seems like without even playing an NBA regular season game, everyone has just given up, like just written him off. Scoot is the clear number two. He's a generational talent, and it seems like because of this, people are just writing Miller off as a bum. But for me, I think Miller's game specifically will be so much better when he's playing with LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Gordon Hayward, all of this spacing, all of this playmaking. So he really has the room to do what he does best, not just shoot the ball. It was crowded in what was it? Not even preseason. What was the first thing we
Oh,
just
summer
watched?
league.
Summer League. That was it. Yeah, like you're not running with the best of the best in Summer League. And Brandon Miller was the best guy on those teams. Now he's going to be the fourth best guy on the court. So for me, I really want to see how he fits. I think Scoot's going to be the better player, like a lot of people are saying, but I think Brandon Miller has a great opportunity to fit into this role and to make people be quiet, to quiet a lot of his haters, I guess, basically. And I'm anxious to see how he does because, again, I live in Charlotte. I've got a lot of stock in him being good. I'd like to see it happen. So Miller is the first one that came to mind for me.
No, that's an excellent pick. You're right with Charlotte. They had a lot going on in the summer league. They have a lot of youngins to pick from. Lots of people looking for contracts, and Brandon Miller had to play. Pro- they probably didn't need him to play as a ton because he's going to be on the team and they're looking for some safety valves. I picked my first one in the West, but I'll go with my East because I did the same thing as you, as I went by category. And I'm going to the Heat. Jaime Jaquez Jr., the new Triple J. I said it was a great pick to Marcus when it happened. He mentioned that it would be a great piece to give up for Dame, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. But I'm so glad they still have him. I hope they don't give him up for Dame. I think he's going to be an excellent Heat, and he's what you want Tyler Hero to be. He's the new Tyler Hero. He's taking his spot. He's jumping on his corner. 4 years in college, hard worker. He's Heat culture, and the Latinx community is going to fall absolutely in love with him down there.
I mean, everyone I know that is in tune with the draft, when this pick happened, they were like, well, this was the most obvious pick in the entire draft. And I think you're right in that one. I thought about him for a split second, but honestly, I just expect it to work so well that I'm not worried about watching it. Like, sure, I'm going to catch his highlights, I'm going to see it, but I'm not worried about watching it to see how everything fits because I know how it's going to fit perfectly. But I love the pick because he's going to do so well. It's going to fit so well that if you watch him for 65 games, 60 of them are going to be visually appealing. Like they're just going to be so fun. It's going to be so nice to watch. And whereas my pick, Brandon Miller, I fully expect if you watch 65 games, half of them are going to be pretty rough watches on his end.
Oh, yeah, it's a difficult rookie class. This one on some of the areas. Let's go to the West. I like those two teams for the East. I'm going to start in the West. Said was my first pick, and I went Scoot Henderson with Portland. I'm so excited to watch him. When I say watch, I'm going to be like, these are the ones that I'm checking in on because I want to see how they do, and I want to watch them actually play. And Scoot Henderson is a dog. I had to check out Ignite highlights. I tend to ignore the G League, but Scoot Henderson made me pay a little bit of attention to it. And once this Dame thing is all settled up, I think Portland's really got themselves an excellent player that's just going to take them to the next step in their journey as basketball fans.
Scoot is the player that has everyone saying Portland doesn't have to land the guy in when they trade Dame because they already have the guy. And I know that's a lot to put on a guy, but Scoot wants to carry that. He was upset that Wemby was picked over him, and we all know that Wemby is a generational talent. Well, we all know except for Sean that Wemby is a generational talent. So I can't argue with that pick. Honestly, it went through my head also, but I'd already picked Brandon Miller, and I didn't want to pick number 2 and number 3 and be that boring. So I went all the way to number 4.
Yeah,
and I went Amen Thompson. Again, I'm excited to watch. I love the Rockets squad. Anyone who listens to this knows how much I've been in love with the Rockets core, and if he can fit in with that with the playmaking that he has and the size he has, Fred VanVleet, there's so much talent on this team that if he can find the playing time and fit in, he's so athletic. He has such good vision that I want to watch that team, and getting to watch him fit into that team means I get to watch the Rockets, and it could be a disaster, but I think Amen has potential to just go in there and probably not put up rookie of the year numbers, but he's going when you have like the top 10 rookie highlights at the end of the year, he's going to have 2 or 3 of them.
I'm TBD on him. I'm TBD on the Thompson twins. They were in the overtime elite that I don't really take.
Well, see, that's why you need to watch them because you're TBD. You need to watch the Thompson twins.
Yeah, I'll watch them. They're both their teams. I'll be watching them because they're both going to be in the rosters later on. They'll be mentioned by myself. So I'll watch both those teams. I'm not going to say I'm going to watch for the Thompsons because I don't expect much from them because I don't know what the overtime elite can project in the NBA. But yeah, he's that team's definitely going to be something to watch. And if you have stock in Amon, yeah, you need to keep an eye on him because.
Well, this is my first time buying stock, but I'm purchasing a little. I'm a little late to the party, but I'm joining the party.
I think you're still getting that good value. I can't see you getting in that terrible value. It's got only up from here for that. So that's the West, the East, and the West. So I had Jaime Jaquez and Scoot Henderson, and you had.
Oh, I had Brandon Miller and Amen Thompson.
All right, now we're going to go on to the youngins, the 2 to 4 year players on their rookie contracts. I'll let you go first again in the East.
You mentioned we might be talking about the Thompson twins. Youngin to watch. I've got Cade Cunningham. Before Ant went off and everybody was like, oh, Ant is pulling the Duran and he's making the leap. They were writing articles about how amazing Cade Cunningham looked. I love the team they built around him. I think Asir Thompson is going to be a great defensive presence for them. He's going to be able to lock them down. And everyone wants Cade to shoot threes. I also hope he shoots threes. But I think we've grown to appreciate the mid-range shot from the great players in today. Like the analytics, it was all threes and layups there for like 5 years. But now we've swung back a little bit where we want our great players to just take open shots. And Cade shot 46% on long twos. That was like 80th percentile. If he can get up to, like the 90th, 95th percentile on long twos, I think that, like, even if he can't shoot threes, I think if he can get a rhythm there, that's almost just as good because he's the guy who has the ball in his hands. It's not like he needs to space the floor anyway off ball. So I think Cade, everyone talks about Ant and Halliburton and how they're making the leaps. They're the guy for their teams. I think Cade is just as good as those guys, and I think he's going to prove it this year, and that's why he's the guy to watch because Cade was the guy, like he was the prospect before Wemby was the prospect, and I think people have just kind of forgotten how good Cade is, and that team they built around him is primed to show it this season. So Cade and the Pistons, you've got to watch them.
Same team, different player. I love but I'll get to my pick in a second. I love the Cade Cunningham pick for you. It's super on brand. You have been Cade's day one since before he even played an NCAA game. You were all over him. It's a good pick. I love that team, Detroit. That's kind of the Eastern team with youngins to watch because their roster is crazy. The player I picked was James Wiseman because
Wiseman?
It's a sink or swim. This is his last year's sink or swim.
It's a swim. And by swim, I mean he's swimming overseas to go play in China.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see what happens with James Wiseman. He's always had the right instincts. I think Golden State was probably one of the worst places for him to go because of the basketball that they play, the style.
So he's backing up Duren then, right? Jalen Duren. You think he's playing over Jalen Duren? I'm a big Duren guy. You're gonna hurt my feelings here.
Yeah, it's probably him backing up Duren. I think he's second.
Right, because I don't think you bench Beef Stew.
No, you need him at power forward. Yeah, no, he's backing up, and that's kind of where he needs to be right now.
Wiseman is going to look really good backing up Miles Turner in Indiana, while Buddy Hield is on the Detroit Pistons, helping them get into the play-in. That's what's going to happen.
Is that what you did to Joe? You gave Joe James Wiseman
and a first. He can have a first, protected though, top 4. He doesn't get an unprotected first, not for Buddy Hield.
Yeah, it's hilarious because they also have Marvin Bagley on the team, which was James Wiseman before James Wiseman.
So what's a successful season for Wiseman? What are you watching for from Wiseman?
A second contract. I want to see him continue in the NBA, get picked up by a team, or stay with Detroit and just continue his career because he has the right tools. He has the right instincts. He just needs to learn how to play within an NBA system. The Memphis system was very free as you go with Penny Hardaway. He wasn't running like huge plays and stuff like that.
Well, was it Kelly Oubre that played in Golden State?
Yeah.
For a year, and he was terrible there. Sometimes, like, and you mentioned it, the fit in Golden State. But like, we watched Kelly Oubre in Golden, like we've seen the Golden State system not work for players, and then those players go elsewhere and thrive. I would love to see Wiseman be able to thrive. I think Cade and Ivy are both pretty good playmakers. I think it's a good situation for him. It just was not the guy I was expecting to come out of your mouth, which is why I'm glad I shared mine with you, so we didn't have any overlap. But you didn't share yours with me, so these are all fantastic surprises for me. So, all right,
mine tend to be wild cards. Right? Yeah, let's move on to the West.
My West, young to watch. Let's stay on brand here. Let's go with the Minnesota Timberwolves and Jaden McDaniels. Now, at first I thought, oh, he's my defensive guy to watch. But honestly, I think he's more than a defensive guy. And if you've listened to me and Sheer talk on the last pod about this, he's also super high on McDaniels. And we both think McDaniels has stuff offensively he can do. I noticed that Basketball Index has him in the 98th percentile as a finisher at the rim, but he only drives like 6 times a game. So like the 64th percentile. So he's this amazing finisher at the rim, but he didn't get enough opportunities there. I think those opportunities are going to come. I think that if we see this, the coaching staff is definitely going to see this, and they're going to use this offseason to empower him. And again, he is a defensive monster. He might have been the best perimeter defender last year for my money, just watching him. Again, just everything about him is fantastic on both ends of the court. So Jaden McDaniels is the guy that I'm watching in the West.
No, you said that was on brand. It was on brand. You've always been on him. I think that team, you're very high on the Timberwolves as well. So he's going to have a good year for them to get to where you want them to be. And we'll see with Cat what happens there. I mentioned that I'd be coming back to them. The Houston Rockets. I've got Jabari Smith Jr. as my player to watch. Like Wiseman, this is kind of a make or break year. I want to see how he gets used. Another player on the team that I'll bring up on our next category is going to make or break Jabari Smith's career this season, I think. And he's got Sengun right there. I'd love Sengun. I think is gonna stay and make it through. It's Jabari Smith Jr. The way he's been used these past couple of years, what's happened, it's been a little tragic, to be honest.
If he can play like he did in the summer league and not like he did last year in his rookie year, I think he'll. I think he's going to thrive. I'm pretty sure I know who you're mentioning next. I think they could play together. Honestly, I think they could play side by side. And Sengun and Jabari Smith Jr. I think Jabari can help cover for Sengun's weaknesses on that end. I love the pick because I'm also very, very interested in how Jabari Smith Jr. is going to turn out. I call Cooper Flagg the prospect that everyone said Jabari Smith Jr. was. Well, Jabari Smith Jr. looked the part a little bit in Summer League finally, and adding Fred VanVleet, adding Dylan Brooks, having real NBA veterans, real defensive-minded guys in front of him, I think that's going to really help him on the defensive end. I think it's a great position for him to thrive. If he can't succeed in this environment, it's going to be difficult for him to succeed, I think, on this Rockets team.
Yeah, and he's got a coach in Ime Udoka who I think will bring out the best in him if he is able to gel with him. But yeah, no, I think that's a better situation for the team.
So now we're up We're doing defenders, right?
Yeah, we are. Defenders to watch.
All right. I generally try and not talk about the Bulls on this podcast. I typically go out of my way to avoid talking about them. But the defender I am watching this year is Patrick Williams on the Bulls. When we drafted Patrick Williams, I said I was okay with it. I probably would have preferred Halliburton or Vassell, but we drafted Patrick Williams to guard the Tatums, the Giannis's, the Kevin Durant's back when he was on the Nets. All of these big wings that you just had to have a body that you could throw on them. And this last year, Patrick Williams finally made that leap, and he was a top-tier defender. You hear people talk about it on the podcast, like Lilo Post has mentioned it. The Athletic NBA shows, like multiple places have mentioned it. You can look at the numbers. He was fantastic in isolation defense. And for me, I want to see that growth continue. I know it helps having such good defenders in front of him, but that's going to continue. So that's not going to change for him. So for me, I want to see Patrick Williams continue to embrace the defensive side, because the flack for him, especially on the offensive end, is he just does what's asked of him. He doesn't try and get more. He doesn't go and hunt possessions. He doesn't hunt shots. He'll just stand in the corner. But on defense, he does exactly what's asked of him. And that's exactly what you want on the defensive end. He's been fantastic. And again, it might be a little bit of a homerism pick, but I'm going to be watching them a lot anyway. And I like watching good defense, and it's hard to find guys who Giannis posts up and he can't back them down. But Patrick Williams will plant his feet, and Giannis can't move him. And it's fun watching a defender who can make wings uncomfortable, because the NBA today, wings are so comfortable all of the time that when you can watch it when the game is a little bit different, that's when I enjoy it, whether it's watching a good defender like that or a passer like Jokic.
No, that's an excellent pick. I love Patrick Williams. I want him to succeed in Chicago, because I think they deserve that, to have nurtured this talent. I see a kind of best case scenario for him is the player that I'm going to choose, OG Anunoby. So OG, he is going to be in the starting lineup, I think, this year. Not coming off the bench like he has been, but I need him to be more defensive minded this year and stick to that, because that's where a lot of the opportunities are going to come. I hope the coach runs like a fast paced offense with the team, like a kind of, play off the defense type deal, because they don't really have anybody that's like, carry it up slowly, like a Chris Paul or Kyle Lowry or anything like that.
I always assumed OG was kind of maybe not forcing the offense, but was looking to get his offense more coming off the bench, because he was looking to be that scorer off the bench. Whereas I think if he's in the starting lineup, it's more for a defensive role. So I think your hopes that he'll be more defensive oriented a player, I think that'll probably come to fruition for you.
Yeah, because when it started happening was when we traded away Norman Powell, or when Norman Powell left. Like he tried to be Norman Powell, and it's like, no, Norman Powell was offense first. You should be defense first. You have excellent defense. Like let's go with that first.
I love how we both went with homer picks on that one. Though. We were both like, all right, it's time to pick someone on our team. But
yeah, exactly.
One of the things that I love is just chaos. I love chaos, and I don't know that there's going to be anything more chaotic in the NBA next year than watching Marcus Smart get to be active on the defensive end, knowing he has Steven Adams, Jaren Jackson Jr., knowing he has these people behind him. So for me, I'm picking Marcus Smart making his way to the Western Conference after living out east in Boston to start his career. I want to watch him because I can't wait to see all of the pesky shit he does. He's going to be annoying everyone. He's going to be getting steals. Alvarado, for the Pelicans. He was someone I considered because it's so fun watching him get those pesky steals in the backcourt. Marcus Smart might not do that, but he's going to do literally everything else, and it's going to be a joy to watch. And he's my pick. So, who do you have for your West defender to watch? Unless you,
I was going to pick Marcus Smart. That's why I'm glad you sent me your list, because you all thought you hated Dylan Brooks. Welcome to the Marcus Smart show. Like, that's no fun. He didn't make Memphis more lovable. It's going to be an absolute. Oh, it's going to be terrible in the West for them. My pick is that player he's replacing, Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks needs to be defensive minded in Houston. Fred VanVleet's going to take more shots than you'd like him to take, but Dylan Brooks is not the scorer. We need him defensive minded, locking down, being pesky. Maybe he'll have the occasional bronze game that he had for Canada, but he needs to be defensive minded. He needs to be pesky. He needs to, like you mentioned earlier, be a role model of an NBA player, be a professional in the locker room.
Well, we know he's a plus defender, but I mean, other than if Jabari Smith, let's assume that things work out for Jabari Smith Jr. and he is a plus defender this year. Fred VanVleet, he's a plus defender, but are there any other wing or big plus defenders besides Jabari Smith Jr.? Tari Eason, I guess, is probably a plus defender, right?
Yeah.
So that he has defender, Dylan Brooks is surrounded by good defenders also. It might not be quite it's not quite as big of a safety net in the big department, but in terms of guards and wings, Dylan Brooks has plenty of guys he can depend on around him to where he can be aggressive on that end and not have to worry about, he might not be able to save Jalen Green and it's not Kevin Porter Jr. because he's not going to be there.
No.
Is it? I can't even think who I'm thinking of. But if Jalen Green's in there, you might have to watch out for him. But I expect Dylan Brooks to be able to also cause some chaos. I love your pick, and I love also the symmetry of those two being together on this one.
Yeah, exactly. It's Houston and Memphis is going to be some of the roughest basketball to watch this year. Dylan Brooks against Marcus Smart. So now we go on to our top 10 players. Right, Trey? We have our top 10ers. We're going to start out east.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Are you 100% sure? Because I think instead of doing top 10, I think we should do the trade bait. Because top 10 is that's the last thing.
True.
I'm switching it up on you. That's the main event. Top 10 is main event.
No, you're right. We wouldn't want to end on the trade bait to watch. But we got the East, so I'm going to go first just to spice things up. I'm going to go Spencer Dinwiddie on the Brooklyn Nets. I
like it.
Perpetually on the block, I think. If this season goes sideways for the Nets, they're going to need to get him out of there. They're going to need to go somewhere else. He might win too many games for them. So he's going to be somebody to watch because I honestly don't think Brooklyn's going to be as good or anywhere close to where they were last year because they had Kevin Durant for most of that season. They do not have Kevin Durant this season.
I love that one. It was on my short list. But he wasn't the guy I ended up going with. I ended up going with Kyle Kuzma. I know he just signed a contract, but I don't think the Wizards are going anywhere. And I think come the trade deadline, you're going to see a lot of teams want Kuzma's services. So I think the bidding is just going to heat up so much. Kuzma might not get moved, but he's the guy that I'm really watching. And he's the one that I think he might not be, I guess, the 1A, especially if Harden or Lillard still happen to be on their teams. But I think Kuzma is the guy that me personally, I'm going to be watching for, wondering who he might end up with. Because I think he can be a real hand on a title team. Clearly he can, but
Yeah. No, I think that's a great pick. The Wizards, you're right. They're probably not going to go anywhere. So there's no point in them keeping him around at that kind of money. They can go get some draft picks and start the rebuild over again as per usual. So let's move on to the West then, and you go first with your pick.
All right, I've got Jordan Clarkson. I think he's starting now for the Utah Jazz, but I think they're going to enter tank mode again. I think the West is just super deep. I think they're going to see the Jazz coming. I love Lauri Markkanen. I want him to succeed, but I think teams are going to be prepared for the Jazz. I think the Jazz aren't going to necessarily be interested in winning games, much like the last 10 or 15 of last year. So I think Clarkson is a guy, much like you thought Dinwiddie, is a guard who can go out there and help a team. So for me, I've got Clarkson as the guy, as the trade bait in the West.
Well, that's an excellent pick. I'm going to go to Portland, and I'm going to say Jeremy Grant. I think if they get Dame out of there, I don't think he's long for Portland. They're just going to go real young and just start over, hit the refresh button. And I think Jeremy Grant would be an excellent addition to a lot of the contenders. Maybe he makes it back to Denver now that he's been away.
I had a feeling you were going to pick him, so I did kind of leave him for you. I'm glad you did, though. I had it written down in my chat with Caleb that I had to make sure to bring him up.
Yeah, I had a dark.
If you didn't,
I had a dark alternate timeline pick of Conley Jr., but that would have to involve Minnesota absolutely bottoming out. So that's the dark timeline.
I hope you see this face.
I do. That's why I was like, I want good things for Mike Conley, but that would mean bad things for Minnesota. So I want good things for both of them at the same time. And I don't see good things happening in Portland.
I don't either, and I think that's a great pick. So, all right, it's on to the top guys to watch in the East. My guy is Tatum. They shipped Smart out. I know Derek White's coming in, but I need Tatum's playmaking to step up a little bit for the role he has. I want that to be the next leap he takes. And for me, the guy in the East, Tatum, and the guy in the West, who we'll mention in a minute, I think these guys are right on the precipice of entering that top tier. For me, the top guys are Jokic, Giannis, and Curry, really. I guess are probably my top three. Am I forgetting somebody?
Jokic, Giannis, Curry. No, those would be the top three.
People might say Embiid, but I don't think I have Embiid there. So like I have those three as my top three, like the upper echelon of players. I think Tatum is right there, knocking on that door, and if he can get the playmaking over a certain threshold, I think this is where he makes the leap into that super duper top tier star. And I mean, I'm excited for Celtics fans. I know Tatum's had a lot of success. Like they've had a lot of success, and a lot of their fans are insufferable. But Caleb and a few others are also insufferable, but we like them anyway. So yeah. I will be happy for them if I'm right and Tatum does come through. I like the team though. I think Tatum does have pretty good playmaking vision, and having all of that size, they're going to be defensive monsters if they can get out in transition. I think Tatum might be able to carry that team to like the number one overall seed in the entire NBA.
Yeah, no, it's an excellent pick. Caleb's going to be very happy. I want good things for Tatum, him having gone to Duke and just being a generally great guy. It's going to be interesting because, the guy I'm about to pick is going to set Caleb off, and I'm not looking forward to the comparisons coming at me. But I'm going to take Giannis, and because the way he went out last year, I think it's a revenge tour, especially with the way the stupidity Stephen A is has been spouting about his brothers. It's like, who cares? He's got his brothers in like the 14th, 15th, 13th, 12th spot. Like those aren't consequential. It's the 6 through 10 that is consequential to how the Bucks do. So if he doesn't feel like they have a good 6 through 10, they don't have a good 6 through 10, and his brothers don't have anything to do with it. So Giannis has been an MVP, has been an NBA champion, has been Defensive Player of the Year. He's done a lot of things. And I think this is him just trying to reclaim the throne in the East. Not just be a regular season team, but also be a hardcore playoff team multiple years in a row.
I mean, we all know how much I love Giannis. He's my dude. But he's also out here talking about how he might not stay.
Yeah.
If you don't think Giannis is going to food. If you don't think Giannis is going to come out here and just scorch earth, prove to everyone why he deserves to be able to say this, because he's not going to say that and come out and half-ass anything. He's going to come out and prove to everyone, I am giving you every single drop I have, and I'm going to drag this team as far as I can drag it. And we'll see if it's a title contending team after I drag it as far as I can. But Giannis is going to do that dragging. I cannot wait to see him come out with a vengeance. And I picked Caleb asked me the other day if I had to pick a finals pick, what would it be? And I picked Nuggets Bucks, with the Bucks winning, because I believe that Giannis is going to be that guy this year. But I've always believed Giannis is that guy, so that's why he wasn't my top guy to watch. I want to see if Tatum can get to the level that Giannis is at.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think Tatum, he needs to assume the number one role on the team.
Fucking good.
Yeah, I wish Myers Leonard wasn't on that team, the Bucks. That's very unfortunate.
We can talk about that off air. We'll get into all of that off air, because I grew up in the same area as him. Like I was at Myers Leonard's brother's like fucking visitation shit. Like I know all that. Yeah, we'll get into that off air.
No worries. So let's go to the West now for top guy to watch. I'll let you go first.
Well, I mentioned that the guy in the West was going to be knocking on that upper echelon. For me, it's Luka, and his is a little bit easier almost than Tatum, because I just need him to stop whining to the refs and get back on defense and then try hard on defense. There was that one season that Dallas finished pretty good in defensive rating. I don't remember what it was. And I wasn't smart enough to have that prepared. But Luka tried for like a good year, a half year. If we can get Luka super invested on the defensive end, I think clearly he has everything on the offensive end already. If he can be a two-way player, and he's already at least with his size, he can be like if he's a below average defender with his size, he's at least a neutral on the defensive end. But I think he can be a positive on the defensive end if he's just an average defender with his above average size. So if we can get Luka just to try on defense, that's all we need. And I know he's trying on defense. They ask him to do so much on offense. There's so much running around. They have to close out so much. I understand that it is asking a lot, but when you want to be one of the 5 best basketball players on the planet, the world asks a lot of you, and I'm asking a lot of Luka.
Yeah, you are. I'd love to hear his thoughts on Kyrie being on the team, because I think that trade was actually detrimental to the roster. It was hilarious, and I don't think until they get Kyrie off, I don't see the Mavericks doing very well this year. They're in my lower half of the conference with Kyrie on the roster. But yeah, if Luka can turn it up, I'm not so much sure he's asked to do a lot as much as he probably asks to do a lot. Like that centric basketball where it's just all around him and what he does. I don't think that's a coach's dream to create that. So I don't know if that's him being asked to do it or him being asked to do it after he asked to do it.
Well, I mean, he had a good thing with Brunson before Brunson left. So I don't think it's even necessarily the way he wants to play, but with the way the team is built, like who else do you have on that team that's going like when Brunson was there, they found a good rhythm because, and I mean, they even had Brunson on the bench in the playoffs, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he would run the second unit.
They would well, no, I think when he was like a rookie, when Brunson was a rookie, I'm pretty sure he didn't even get playing time in favor of a shooter, Tim Hardaway Jr. So they've just leaned on Luka to be the playmaker. And you're right, that is kind of Luka's play style, but they've shown just because that's Luka's play style, if you put another playmaker in with him like they finally did with Jalen Brunson, and that's going to, like, Luka is going to share the ball. He is going, like, that is going to just change the way Luka plays, even if that might not be the way he technically prefers. Luka is such a fluid offensive player who, like, he's just going to go with the flow of the offense.
Mm-hmm. And I think if you get a taller shooting guard beside Luka, that would make it easier on defense because they could almost play like a matchup zone, and where it's just they each play their zones and they take the player that's in the zone for that. And it'll cut down on all the running for them for what he has to do on offense. Because he needs to be playing something on defense that's going to help him conserve his energy.
Well, with Kyrie playing point, that Pau is a pretty good switch defender. I think he does a good job at trying to cover all of the leaks that is the Dallas defense. Mm-hmm. But when I said I want Luka invested, that is part of that is switching off of his guy, rotating over onto Pau's guy into the post when Pau has to switch. Like, part of that is being active and being aware on defense and making the right rotations, calling out the right, communicating the right things. And because, like you said, if you're having a scrambling defense, and that's the only way the Mavericks defense will succeed is if it's chaos on that end and they're scrambling around, because they're not going to win on their defensive talent. You have to have everyone invested and everyone working together. And that starts with your stars, because they are the ones that are putting out the most energy on the offensive end, and you need them to buy in just as much on the defensive end. And I mean, Kyrie's not a good defender, but he has at least shown an ability to make guys work for it. And he'll make them work, and then he'll be out of position, and you have to scramble for it. So the Mavericks know this. They built their roster for it. Now it's time to see if they can execute it.
Yeah, he really made Giannis work that one playoffs. He really did. My player that I went with in the West, my top 10 players, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He had a fantastic FIBA. That team is pretty stacked as well. Oklahoma, like, Thunder are not too bad of a roster to watch. They're pretty nice on the eyes. So that, I think he's going to lead that team to some great things this year. I think it's sky's the limit for him, for SGA. I love Giddey around with him. Chet, I'm not very high on Chet, but if Chet
everyone else is.
And everyone else is, and I'd love to be wrong for SGA's sake. I will take the L, as my son says, on that one.
I love the pick. I'm in on SGA. I think the Thunder are going to be great. Do you think this is the year they try and pull the trigger on all these picks, or do you think they wait on the Giannis and Embiid situation or someone like that?
Honestly,
I think it was Sam Vecini. He floated out maybe like Isaiah Joe and a first for Buddy Hield to bring in just another shooter around SGA and Giddey and the playmaking they have. But that's part of the charm with the Thunder. They have so many options, and with the way the contracts are, they can add some money now and still be able to make things work if they get creative with contracts. And SGA is key to that. And I think they're going to make the playoffs this year, and that might. do I want to say top six? I don't know that I can go top six. Man, the West is loaded because you got you've got the Nuggets, the Warriors. I'm calling the Timberwolves. Like I'm calling that shot already.
Yeah.
I don't want to write the Kings out. You got the Suns. There's the Grizzlies. Like boom, the Grizzlies. Boom, they're 6 already. So no, I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're a play-in team, and I think they win in the play-in because I believe in SGA.
I think the East has the top talent, and the West has the deepest talent for teams. Because like 1 through 10 is an absolute slobber knocker. Because you named 6 teams, and you haven't even named the Lakers who are supposed to, the Clippers who are supposed to, like that.
Wow.
They're supposed to. I'm not saying they're going to.
The Pelicans.
The Pelicans. Yeah. If Zion plays, like, there's a million teams in the West that, like, it's easier to name off the teams that are not going to be good.
This year is the best investment year for NBA League Pass because every night, every team has somebody fun to watch. Like the West especially is loaded, but I'm excited. I'm excited for our top guys to watch.
No, absolutely. I think it was.
Are you excited to watch Dame Lillard when he gets traded to the Heat or to the Raptors?
To the Raptors, I think that's going to be good times. It's going to sell a lot of tickets, like you said. Those are going to be some hot jerseys. You're going to see a lot of Sub-Zeros out there, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it because, again, we want to wait and see. But all right, so let's say they find a way. They find a way, and they don't have to give up Pascal, OG, or Scotty. You got to give up basically everything else.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you get those 4. Does that make you more in on the deal?
Yeah. No, that's an insane starting lineup. Like, we're going to have to coach the heck out of the second
So, like,
unit.
you're trading, what is it, like Grady Dick, Gary Trent Jr., Chris Boucher.
Malachi Flynn. Pirtle can't be traded. Schroeder can't be traded. Otto Porter maybe will have to be in there.
Oh yeah, but just in theory. So
who knows?
I think I would be in on that too if they can find a way to make that happen. But I think if the price gets that cheap, I think that's when the Heat up their offer even more, and then Caleb Martin is out the door.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I just wanted to get that on record.
No, you're exactly right. Like that's a great point because if it gets that cheap, Miami's definitely moving in on that. They're definitely throwing their whole body at it and blocking.
All right, man, get us out of here. I've got some football to watch, some Monday Night Football.
I guess that's on now. Taylor Swift's ruined football for me. Why? So it's fake.
You know what ruined football for me? My defensive coordinator looking up fucking kiddie porn. Jesus fucking Christ.
Shit, is that what happened?
We don't know for sure. I should probably not say that. But God, that's the big rumor going around. Like this Bears season is the worst fucking season ever.
That's tough. That's a tough one. That is absolutely tough. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm excited to go watch Monday Night Football because it's not football season anymore as a Bears fan. It's basketball season.
Yeah, it's definitely basketball season. For sure. So check us out at hoopsocial.com. You've got Trey, keeping the content rolling out on the YouTube channel at Hoop Social. We've got at Charity Stripe Commentary. We've got them all. Where can the people find you, Trey?
On Threads at Finally.
On Threads. How's Threads doing? Is that okay these days?
I'm liking it. It doesn't have DMs, but the search now works. So like when I'm watching a game, like when I'm watching wrestling, I can search for the match that I'm watching live and see what other people are saying about it. It's a little more work than the hashtags and the trending, which I think is hopefully still coming. But it's getting better. And it's still a nice place. It's not filled with a bunch of negativity.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it that way.
I might have to check that out because I think that was the problem with me not getting on Twitter right away is I got in at the worst time to get into Twitter. So maybe I should get on the ground floor of Threads before it gets ruined, and then I'll peace out before it gets awful. So we'll TBD on that one. But thanks so much for checking out the Charity Stripe commentary. This was an absolute blast. Our rosters are stacked. Trey, have a good night.